just a classic, not just part of history, but it's part of my personal history, and this Speedy 30 in particular. So welcome to today's video. This is an ode to the Speedy 30, and I am so excited to share my thoughts about this wonderful bag and why it is, for me, a forever piece in my collection. But first, if you're new here, welcome to Witting Chic. We recognize that no one wants to unwittingly make a bad luxury purchasing decision. So on this channel, I share my tips, tricks, and experience so that you can make more fun, functional, and smart luxury purchasing decisions. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much. I love that you have come back to join me for another video. And if you are new, please do consider subscribing down below. I would love to grow this wonderful luxury community. All right, so let's get into talking about this bag. I mentioned this bag during a recent tag video that I did on if I had to downsize my luxury collection. I have currently well over 30 luxury handbags, which is a lot of bags. But if I had to complete the thought exercise of downsizing to just 7, I was asked which would be my #1 bag. And spoiler alert, this is the one bag that if I had to get rid of all of my other luxury bags in my collection, this is the one that I would keep. Yes, even more so than my Hermes bags. And so why? Let's get into the story of why I would keep this particular bag above all others. So I am going to just sort of scoot some of my books out of the way and bring this a little closer and just be holding it up to give you all some eye candy and some detail shots as we talk through information about the Speedy 30. So if you are new to the Speedy 30, this is a Louis Vuitton classic. It's often referred to as sort of the luxury starter bag, the one classic bag that will never go out of style that everyone should own. It's in the classic LV monogram. So this is the second classic monogram that Louis Vuitton ever produced. The damier print, or the checkerboard print, was actually the first canvas that was patented as a Louis Vuitton print. And then this one was developed thereafter as a highly recognizable branded print that became a staple of the Louis Vuitton fashion house. If you're interested in more of the Louis Vuitton history, I highly recommend the books behind me. So these are both from Louis Vuitton themselves. And pro tip, if you're looking for something affordable to purchase from Louis Vuitton, books are a great option. They're a great way to go. They come in beautiful packaging. You get the shopping bag and the box and the ribbon, you know, and the whole experience, but you can spend way less money and end up with a beautiful gift. So I purchased this gift as a gift to myself a few years ago, but also purchased additional copies as gifts for other special people in my life. This is a book simply titled Louis, but it is essentially a life story of Louis Vuitton, and I found it very compelling. And so highly recommend this book if you want to learn more about the man himself. And so it does take some, you know, historical liberties to sort of fill in the gaps in what is known about his life. But for the most part, I found it highly informative and really fun. And then this big book is very heavy, but Louis Vuitton, The Birth of Modern Luxury, is not only a beautiful coffee table book, but it is just, and there he is himself, Mr. Louis Vuitton. It is just a beautiful book to have in your collection. I do flip through this and read through it all the time. It does have photographs from some very classic campaigns that Louis Vuitton has done over the years. I love this photo of Sean Connery. So yeah, highly recommend this book, and it has a lot of really interesting history about the brand. So if you're looking for also a really good purchase and a way to educate yourself, but also end up with a beautiful kind of showpiece for your coffee table or your collection bookshelf, wherever you're displaying pieces from your collection, I highly recommend picking up some books from Louis Vuitton. And in fact, I have a new book that I unboxed in my What I Got for Christmas video that I still need to unwrap and really look through. So I will save that for a future video as well. You can take a look at that new book with me. But we're not here to talk about books. We're here to talk about bags. Anyway, the Speedy 30 is one of the most recognizable silhouettes in the world. And of course, it's called the Speedy 30 because it is 30 centimeters wide across the bottom. And so this is modeled after their famous soft-sided trunk not their trunks, but their keep balls, which was an innovation in travel luggage. And this was basically a shrunken down handheld size that was developed for women to carry as handbags. And so this became popularized in like the 1930s and into the 40s. And so much so that Audrey Hepburn famously requested an even smaller size, the Speedy 25, for herself, which became an instant classic. She is known to have carried that bag a lot, and there's very famous photographs of her carrying her Louis Vuitton Speedy all over the place. So ever since then, it has been considered just an iconic bag that would be a staple that anybody should have in their collection. And historically, it's been a very well-priced piece in Louis Vuitton. It's often seen as having been like very approachable. It used to be, I believe, somewhere in the $200 range back in the 1980s. And it has steadily increased in price ever since. Currently, this bag retails for well over $1,000. It feels like not too long ago, it was in the $700 range, about 10 years ago, I want to say. So it has seen a lot of steep increases in price just in the past few years, as with a lot of current luxury. So that's the story of the price of the bag and why it's considered so classic, and why it's often recommended that people get this bag when they are first trying out the brand, because it is at a more approachable price point. Now, the construction of the bag is really just, these panels on the end and one continuous piece of canvas all the way under the bag to the other side. And that's why on the reverse side of the bag, the LVs are upside down. So that is just sort of the way that the bag is constructed. So it's often well known that if you see a Speedy that has LVs that are upright on both sides, it is likely a counterfeit item. All right. There are a lot of tells about the Speedy and its construction that if you are new to Louis Vuitton and new to trying to authenticate bags, there are a lot of good ways to be able to examine details about this bag, to educate yourself about the brand and educate yourself around authenticity. That's one of the first things that I did when I was first collecting Louis Vuitton, was to really study the Speedy inside and out. But honestly, you just kind of don't know about a Speedy until you see one in real life and really get it in your hands and feel the quality of the pieces to really truly understand the bag. If you have yet to actually hold one in your hands and you're curious, I encourage you to be brave and go into a Louis Vuitton and ask to see one in real life. Even if you don't buy it brand new and decide to purchase one pre-loved, it will help you understand what an authentic bag is like. Okay, so my bag is really special because I'm going to take off this charm just so that it's kind of out of the way and not flopping around. I just love this charm. I think that it's really pretty. I forget the name of it, but it just has a really nice little sort of jingle to it, which doesn't bother me at all. It has some nice heft to it, a nice weight. It does have a little tag here that gives the date code and the style information. So this is a charm from 2014. Wow. And I've had it for years and it has held up really well. It's starting to tarnish up here where all the metal pieces rub together. I don't know if you can see that. It is starting to tarnish up here where the metal pieces rub together. It has some really nice LVs in the center of the little flowers, but obviously these are based on the classic fleur shapes of the monogram itself. And so I just think that this is a really pretty charm to carry on monogram. So highly recommend. These are easy to find on the pre-loved market. And yeah, it's a really nice piece. All right, so this bag is one that I picked up pre-loved on purpose. I was looking for a secondhand Speedy, a vintage Speedy, with the intention of using it and then eventually replacing leather pieces on it so that it would last a lot longer. And I ended up having an interesting story occur where ultimately I got all of the leather replaced on this bag for free, which was really cool. So let me get into that story and I will explain how that happened. But in case you've never seen a repaired bag before, or one with the trim looking this red. Oftentimes people look at like red trim and they'll think that this is like a bad sign or it's a sign of a counterfeit. I've seen ones that are like fire engine red, but this is more of like a brick red, and this will develop a patina and become brown over time as it oxidizes. And this is what it's supposed to look like. All right. And these days they even do it on the edge of the pull tab. If you can see that, they do it on the edge of the chapes. And so it is all over the leather pieces on new bags and pieces that have had their leather repaired. So I just wanted to show you that, because sometimes people get all upset on forums and talk about, oh, it must not be authentic. No, that's not true. This is a 100% authentic piece. It's just the production processes have evolved and changed somewhat over time. All right, so I purchased this bag originally, and I will look for a picture of this bag. I think I still have one saved somewhere of what it looked like when I first purchased it. But this was a piece that I purchased pre-loved from Japan. And I was specifically looking, and right now I just have it kind of stuffed with some dust bags. I do put air paper in here, or sometimes a shaper or an organizer. But right now I just have dust bags. And I specifically wanted to find a bag that was from my birth year. And so this is the wrong side. It doesn't have the date code on either of these shapes. So let me turn it around. But this is the color of the original patina of the bag. So you can see how dark the leather was originally. But also, if you know vintage pieces, this really isn't that dark. This is like a really nice, what is called a honey patina. So I don't know if you can see this super well. Hopefully you can. But the numbers on this shape say 823. And so this bag is so vintage that it is rubbed over here. It maybe had an SA over here on this side. It's hard to tell though, because this one did experience some rubbing. So obviously this is an authentic bag. All the leather got replaced by Louis Vuitton, but the very oldest bags, I'm going to sort of out myself here in terms of my birth year, but the very oldest bags from Louis Vuitton started receiving date codes stamped in them beginning in 1982. And that's when this bag was from. This bag is so old that it was not originally produced with an inside pocket. So it's not that this bag is missing its pocket or that it was removed. It was literally not produced with one. They didn't start adding the pocket routinely until a few years later. So this bag originally did not even have a pocket, and it was just one black hole inside. So the bag is just one big bottomless pit. That's why people get organizers or other things to put inside them. But the canvas is pretty clean for being as old as it is. So finding bags from 1982 are relatively difficult to come by, and they're typically in fairly poor condition. And so I was thrilled to find the bag that I found. And honestly, the patina looked really good, but it had a tear in the zipper channel. Now, Louis Vuitton will take a bag back and just replace the zipper on it. So I thought, you know, the patina is definitely a vintage patina, but it still looks pretty good. I think I'm just going to replace the zipper. So I brought it into my boutique and spoke with my SA, and I said, you know, this is all I really want to do. I really like the vintage look of this bag. So I really just want to replace the zipper so that it's functional, because it had a tear and therefore it just wasn't zipping properly, and it would get caught and stuff, and it wouldn't zip like smoothly. And so he was like, okay, no problem, and admitted it to be sent off. And there we have it. Well, I waited several months, which, as many of you know, Louis Vuitton's repair process can take quite a long time. So a few months later, the bag came back, and I got a call that the bag is ready to be picked up from the boutique, and I was super excited. So I went and made an appointment with my SA, and I was like, all right, I'm here to pick up my Speedy. And I had some other purchases that I was making that day, and so we were kind of making an afternoon of it and just hanging out at the boutique. There's like a little sitting area, and so we were just relaxing. So he brings out the bag, and I get it out of the dust bag, because they will, you know, kind of repackage it for you and give you a brand new dust bag for it, and sometimes a box and everything. So I get it out, and the zipper was replaced, and even the hang tag originally was in good shape. So I asked them if it was possible to put the original zipper pull back on, and just use a rivet to reattach the original leather zipper pull. Well, new zipper pull, and not only that, new piping and tabs. And they hadn't told me that they were going to do that. But there was a note with the piece that said, we took the bag apart, and to fully be able to replace the zipper, we had to take these seams apart, and we weren't able to reattach them properly. And so the decision was made to just replace all of this leather on both sides of the bag. And normally when they do work that is not within the quote of the scope of the repair, they're supposed to contact you. And I was like, oh my gosh, what happened? And so we were looking at the repair notes, and my SA was super apologetic because here now I had this bag with brand new leather on the ends. And at least I was happy it had been sent back to France, because the original was also made in France. And I really wanted it to, if I was going to have it replaced, I don't know, I liked that it had that heritage of, that's where it had been born. And so I was happy that at least the repairs were done where it had a made in France. If it goes to a US facility, it won't have this tag on it if it's repaired in the US. So just FYI. Sometimes that's important to people. So I was pretty upset, and my sales associate was like, oh yeah, it doesn't really look right, does it? Because here the handles and the chapes on both sides were still the original vintage patina, but it had the brand new leather on both sides and the ends, and so it looked a little weird. It looked a bit like a Frankenstein, in my opinion. It just was not what I was picturing. And I knew that if I took it home like that, that I really wasn't going to wear it like that. Some people have a lot of patience for patinaing a bag, and they don't mind if they have pieces on their bag that are mismatched. If you are that person, bless you. That's great. My OCD brain won't really let me do that necessarily. I just think it looks weird, and it's just not for me. So, I've read in all sorts of forums how people put different oils on their, vachetta leather and try to patina it faster and all this. And I just was not interested in doing that with this piece, especially because I wanted it to be a forever piece. It was a birthday year bag, and yeah, so I was upset, and and I had explained the birthday year thing to my sales associate, so he was aware, and he was like, all right, look, we're just going to readmit this for repairs again, and I'm going to put a note in the work order that they just need to replace the handles and shapes now, and to leave the rest of the bag alone. And I was like, okay, and so that's what they did, and they sent it off, and this time it was super fast. It was like a month, if that. So it was super fast. And I think my sales associate kind of put like a rush on it because it was to fix a mistake, and I think probably internally they have like an escalation process if a customer's unhappy. So that's what they did. They fixed the bag, and again, get a call, the bag's back, let's take a look. And so again, went in, sat down with my sales associate, and pulled this beauty out. And this time it looked perfect. So it had the brand new handles. It had the leather that had been as it was before. And of course the new zipper, all of the hardware had been replaced, and they had paid attention to detail, because I was like, all right, look, if they're replacing the chapes, they didn't keep the zipper pull. But I feel pretty strongly about this. I really want them to keep the inside leather tabs. Don't let them take these away. And so we like wrote it on the form and like underlined it, right? And they did a great job, and this came back perfect, and the leather pieces are there. And so it has its history. It's so beautiful. I wish that you could just like reach through the screen and feel how thick this canvas is. The canvas is so thick and so sturdy. Like, and you can see as I'm like holding this, it's empty, but as I like push on it, I mean, it holds its shape. It's like so sturdy. So, when people talk about vintage pieces and the quality of vintage Louis Vuitton, this is exactly what they're talking about, that you can feel from vintage canvas. It's so thick. You can tell that this used to be a heritage luggage brand, right? It was made to last a lifetime and beyond. And so I really am thrilled ultimately with the quality of this. The cherry on top was that, again, I was making some other little purchases. It was right around the time that the Christmas collection was in store, and I was picking up several Christmas collection pieces, which are like SLGs with little Christmas animation on them. And my sales associate had called over the manager, and I also was really friendly with the manager, and they were like, we're so glad that this turned out perfect and that we could make this perfect for you. You're such a great customer. Just don't worry about it. We're waiving the cost of all of the repairs. Just thank you for being patient. We're so glad we could make this right. So yay, that's how I ended up getting essentially a brand new Speedy for the cost of about $300, which is what the bag originally cost from Japan when I purchased it in its vintage condition. So for about $300, now this bag is a beautiful brand new bag that is poised to last me another 40 years. I mean, it really is a heritage piece that I intend to have for the rest of my life and carry as an absolute classic in my wardrobe, and will probably pass on to the next generation someday. So I am just so pleased with ultimately how this turned out. And the Speedy 30, and even though this is a top handle carry, I always love carrying this bag. I am a little bit taller. I'm 5'11", and so this size of bag really does suit my frame, and it doesn't bother me at all that it's the size that it is. I think it's a perfect size, and I fit so much in here. And so yeah, it's a joy to carry, and I highly recommend it. So if you have any other questions or comments about this bag or about my repair experience, I would love to hear what you have to say. So please do comment down below and let me know what you think of my Forever Speedy 30, my birthday year bag. And yeah, I hope wherever you are in the world today that you are having an excellent day. Do something, even if it's something small, for yourself to make yourself smile today. And I will see you in my next one.
I remember when we were staring at a photo. Don't forget the way you look me in the eyes. And I keep you in my heart. In my heart is where you are. I still think of you. I want you.